self-discovery, and then you started figuring out what your ROI was. I love that you say ROI on your life, because I don't think enough people do that. You know, they're burning
No,
the
and sometimes
candle.
they're like, well, I make $500,000 a year. I'm like, yeah, but you don't sleep. You don't have any time to take care of yourself. You have to be fake nice 24/7.
Yeah.
You're inauthentic to make that money.
Yeah.
So it's going to break down.
Yeah, they're working too hard
And
for it.
Yeah, and you know, that's where I think just taking the time to, okay, well, how many hours a week do I work? What else is it costing me? Am I a workaholic with all the other dimensions of my life suffer because all I do is work? So again, I think it takes time to really have those bigger questions. And I do remember having a night where I was like staring at the ceiling, and I was like, this is it. You know, I'm going to be really good in this corporate job and succeed in corporate, and that's going to be my legacy. And I felt grief, like deep grief in my body.
Yeah. I want to touch on something that is almost an assumable from maybe people in your same position, but for our listeners, I want them to understand the process. You know, you went from a corporate job, assuming you made really good money over there. It sounds like you probably did. And then and then you moved on to your own thing, and you talked about, you know, setting that goal of finding one item that you could make six figures. So essentially you started your own business, and your immediate goal was to make six figures with it. There's no guarantee that you're going to make those six figures. How did you achieve that? You know, what process did you put in place to achieve that? Because I understand the power of positive thinking, and once you know how to make a certain amount of money, it seems like you can continue to make that, but you still had to figure it out. And I want
and it
to
wasn't
understand.
easy, because in the beginning it's like, okay, I left my corporate job. I didn't have a clear plan. I had some idea. I had some skills that I could make some quick money if I had to. But there were a couple months where I just stared at my computer screen, and I didn't have a boss to tell me what to do. You know, it's very, I think sometimes we don't talk about this enough. It can be lonely in the beginning because you don't have a new tribe yet.
Yeah.
You just left your old tribe, and you can hire a mentor, but you feel alone. And I remember, I'm so passionate about wellness, but I just, I didn't know how to ground myself. So I just ate sugar all the time. And it was it's not me to do that. But I felt so ungrounded because this was so new. I didn't have much support. Nobody was doing this. My whole world was all in corporate. And so but I allowed myself the time. I was like, okay, so I'm a bit of a hot mess, right now, but let's focus on what I'm good at. And so what I really focused on was, I remember having a meeting with my accountant and this is one little tip for anybody listening. I told him what I was going to earn in my first year.
Right.
Because a lot of times it's we wait till the end of the year to see how much we've earned.
Right, sure.
Which to me is not really leadership. In the beginning, it's in January, set the pace. What are you going to earn at the end of the year? Share that with someone to help hold you accountable. And my accountant was like, okay, he kind of rolled his eyes. And I had a few people who for sure were like, why don't you just go get a day job again? And I had old bosses who called me back to say, listen, would you do a contract? It's I kept getting tested. Mm-hmm. Okay, I could get safe security money again. I had bosses calling me for contract work, but I knew it would be taking a step back.
Yeah.
So you'll be tested too. When you make that commitment to graduate, you'll get tested. Your old world will try to kind of pull you back. So what I ended up doing was I set that goal for myself for my annual income, but I also use a rule of 3. So I will, on Sunday nights, I set 3 goals for the week.
Okay.
And it was measurable goals. So I was my income was a goal. At the time, it was new clients was a goal. So I had numeric goals. And the other thing I really focused on in my first couple of years was my time was spent on revenue generating activity. If it didn't make me money, or it wasn't something for either contributing to the world or taking care of my health, I kept it for Sunday or the weekend.
Okay.
So I didn't fill my time with wasted stuff during weekdays.
Yeah, so I love that you brought that up. I was reading an article that you wrote for Entrepreneur Magazine, and your fifth bullet point was spending too much time on things that didn't make money.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it's easy for us
and
to do.
that, like, I've always been obsessed with the book The 7 Habits, and I think it's because it's like that's such an aha for people. It's like even the time management quadrant he has, that was my biggest aha. It's like if you spend all your time putting out fires or being a people pleaser, and what's important to them fills your time, then you're going to find yourself not getting ahead in life. So making that switch to, focusing your time on what's important but not urgent, and what's important to you, you have to identify what's the revenue generating activities for your business. And so for me, it was pretty simple in the beginning. I needed new clients. I had to make weekly cash flow, and I had to have good tax strategies as well. So I had to learn a lot of new skills. I had to start going to networking meetings, and that was so out of my comfort zone.
Yeah.
But I did it. I did things that made me uncomfortable because I knew that I didn't have the skills to really be successful. I had good corporate skills, but I didn't have entrepreneurial skills.
You said something earlier that I can relate to, and I just want to bring it back home for people because it's easy to look at the finished product. You've got a beautiful website, you've got articles out there, you've got a book, and it's easy to look at all that and think that it just came naturally. But you mentioned staring at the computer and being kind of on your own little island. You don't have that network of friends that you had at the corporate job. And that is so realistic because I know the two businesses that I've started in the last 15 years, you spend time staring at that computer going, when is an email going to come in? I mean, just a simple email, corporate job, you can't keep up with the emails. You start your own business and you're dying for one message of somebody asking anything about your business. But it's a part of you planted a seed and you've got to water it and watch it grow. And there's a lot of excitement to that. But I want people to understand it's not easy, right? It's hard.
No, and you have to develop, I think, new mental muscles, because I don't think, I had mental muscles to achieve a task and to finish a to-do list and to do things well in corporate. But when it comes to being a CEO or being your own boss, you have to develop these new mental muscles where you don't talk yourself out of potential, because you might set these amazing goals for yourself, and then 5 minutes later, your brain's like, that's impossible. You can't do that. You're never going to do this. So you'll see how quickly you self-sabotage. So focusing, for me, having a lot of tools to keep focused on what I want and not focus my mental energy on what I don't want, that takes time to build that.
Yeah. I like to listen to a lot of podcasts, and Gary Vee's on my playlist if you listen to him at all.
Yes.
He talks about the fact that he doesn't digest any outside content. And I really didn't think about that too much at first. I thought, wow, he's, doesn't watch or listen to anything. But what I realized, I get up in the morning and I'll start popping on my social media. And next thing I know, I've just burned 30 minutes looking at stuff that doesn't make any difference in my business life. And now I'm burning business hours. And I've made a conscious effort not to soak up so much content myself, more or less making it a luxury or, part of what people used to call their TV time, And I found myself to be more productive now that I'm not soaking up content all the time. I think we can get trapped in doing that as well, don't you think?
Yes. Oh, yeah. And I mean, for me, I have I kind of focus more on picking one or two channels to focus on instead of I used to, when I first started, when social media came out, I was like, I have to be good at everything. I have to be everywhere. And I was getting overwhelmed because I was spending my whole day on things that weren't bringing me money and I wasn't even great at. Mm-hmm. So it was all these time wasters. And again, like what Gary Vee was saying, I was listening to everything. And so what I kind of fine-tuned it to when I'm doing my fitness or my walks, that's when I listen to content that helps me.
Yeah.
But I found in the beginning, you kind of want to manage that too because you don't want it to be overwhelming so that you freeze and you don't do anything.
Sure.
And then it becomes comfortable to listen, but you're never doing. because it's not out of the comfort zone to listen to podcasts and to read books because you don't have to do anything. Turning it into wisdom is the part that we need to really focus on and make a commitment to. So that's what I really focused on. It's like, okay, well, what's the topic that I need to develop right now? Whether that's managing a team, building a tribe, starting a blog. So honing in on what's the specific topic, and then finding some resources, not too many, that are helpful. Look for the leader in that area, learn from them, but then take a break and be in action.
Yeah, I think that's an important statement too, because for some reason, a lot of people are of the mindset if they read that book, 7 Habits or Think and Grow Rich or whatever it is, that they're just going to be better for it. But there's an action
right.
there's an actual action to that. And if you're
I mean, everybody's different, but I'm like that. Like I'll take a season where I'm learning and then I'm in action and I tune out everything external.
Yeah.
I do. Like for me, that works well. Because, again, also I know my personality, and if I'm reading too many other websites or blogs and things like that, I start feeling like, maybe I need to do this, maybe I need to do this. I get distracted, so I focus. And even when I was writing my book, I really, there were a lot of other amazing books at the time that I could have read and I wanted to read, but I was like, no, this is my action time, my productivity time, but I put them on my list for later.
Yeah. Since you brought it up, can we talk about your book a little bit and what the premise is and what stimulated you to write that, and how did you have the courage even to think about writing a book?
Yeah, so I've always been a vision board person since, again, that time in my life at 27, 28, when I unraveled what wasn't working, and then I started to work with vision boards and really lofty dreamy goals annually. And I had on that first vision board that I wanted to write a book. I had no idea what the topic was, didn't know, but it was on there. And so again, I ended up writing a manuscript, and this did not happen overnight. I had probably 5 different topics. I went all over the place. I ended up refining it to the book's called Beautiful Money. Mm-hmm. And it is, how to drastically increase your net worth in a very holistic way. So for me, it's really my passion. It's what I've always taught. It's about making money in alignment with who you are and what makes you tick and values so that it's sustainable long term. It really focuses on like the 4 principles that I really teach on this. And for me, it's my checklist for, how do I select an income stream or a business to get involved with? I look at the 4 L's is what I call it, the checklist. So the first one is love. There has to be passion and a fire, and it has to be aligned with my values. The next one is leadership. So for me, it has to bring me out of my comfort zone to develop my leadership to a new level. So I ask myself that. Third is legacy. So that's, for me, I think about how can I serve the world even when I'm not physically here? So if it's a business that has passive income or allows me to serve the greater good or go global, those are questions that I ask myself. And then 4th would be leverage. Mm-hmm. And that's the one thing I don't feel we learn enough in life and in business is there should be an entire course in every MBA on just leverage and understanding how to make it work for you. And so for that, it's like, what are you doing that you shouldn't be doing? Yeah. Where are you spending time that you shouldn't be spending time? And how can you get more leverage in your day? Uh-huh. So that is a question I ask myself too. The 4th one is, does this bring more leverage to my life? So those are kind of the 4 principles that I really teach on in the book. And I feel like, we got to do it a different way because too many people, their bodies are breaking down. They're not in alignment. They're making money out of alignment or in an energy deficit. And it's not working. It's not sustainable. And I think, a higher level of consciousness in business and how we make money is required today. So that's why I wrote it.
It's very, very fascinating, and I realize that you're a parent, and it seems like you've got your business life